Welcome to our podcast. I'm Colin Durbin.
I'm Noah Christensen.
And I'm Jasmine Algra.
In today's episode, we are going to explore how Hancher Auditorium is much more than it seems, more than just a building bringing elegant performances, and more than just a community. During the podcast, we will bring you an unknown narrative surrounding the Hancher Auditorium, located on the University of Iowa's west side. This is a story that our group was unaware of before speaking to Hancher's marketing director, Rob Klein. Ourselves and Rob will attempt to show you all just how diverse and important to the community Hancher and its story is to the University of Iowa. First, we asked Rob to explain how Hancher includes more performances than just the elegant arts. Rob decided to share a story and his thoughts revolving around the success of a show featuring famous comedian and actress Kathy Griffin to display how Hancher can be so much more in what it is able to offer to its audiences.
Yeah, it's interesting. The year of the flood, so in 2008, before the flood, we had announced that we were presenting Kathy Griffin. And then we flooded out, and Kathy agreed to come anyway, and we presented her at Carver Hawkeye Arena. And because we presented her at Carver Hawkeye Arena, Kathy Griffin is the best-selling show in the history of Hancher Auditorium. I was there for, the first 20 minutes or so, and thought, oh boy, this is like I don't know how I feel about this inside the sort of the Hancher continuum.
Yeah.
But particularly in a community that is so invested in language and writing and speaking and poetry and all of the, like, stand-up comedy is basically an oral tradition, and so I think that as long as we're selecting carefully and with purpose, if we know why we're doing something, then we can present pretty much anything that we feel meets that standard. And so it can be hard to figure out. So what makes Kevin Hart an important comedian, right? What makes, boy, there's so many that I admire. What makes Amy Schumer an important comedian, right? And how would we talk about that in the framework of our presentations? I mean, certainly over the years, there's been a ton of nudity on our stage, including local people in a big famous piece by Bill T. Jones. There's been a ton of language. We're not scared of controversial content. We want to make sure that there's something to the content besides the controversy, right? Like, if you're only funny because you swear, then you're probably not for us.
Despite the challenges of putting on different types of performances, Rob explains how it can be worth it to try and incorporate something new and different to appeal to different audiences.
We asked Rob why Hancher's elegancy and top-tier performances appeals so much to himself and so many others. Rob included stories from his past, including how he first began becoming involved in the arts and how becoming a part of Hancher further and energized his passion for these kinds of performances.
So it's tricky. I feel really blessed because I grew up in Cedar Rapids, and I was involved in the arts and thought I was pretty savvy when it came to the arts. And then I got the job at Hancher, and I started to see things I would have never attended because I didn't know what they were. And this sounds like such a cliche, but I promise I'm telling you the gospel truth. Changed my life to see what's possible beyond what we see in pop culture.
Rob emphasizes how Hancher is able to bring so much more compared to what you see in a typical pop culture.
After learning that a flood had occurred at the original Hancher Auditorium, we asked Rob if he could share how the event impacted himself as an individual and how the event also impacted the Hancher community as a whole. Here's what Rob had to say about a very emotional subject.
Well, I can tell you that it was very emotional. It was hard, and it was hard immediately, and then it was sort of hard over time. In part because, like, when it first happened, there was 18 inches of water on the stage, and there was water into the auditorium out to row O or R. It was like well into the auditorium, but the lobby was dry. And we as a staff, we really thought that we'd be moving back into that building probably within a year, maybe two. But what we hadn't factored in was that all of that building's essential systems like HVAC and things were underground in the sub-basement, and they were totally destroyed. And so FEMA gave us some options. They would have helped us rebuild that building, but they told us that if we did that, they'd never help us again, right? So
we flooded again.
Yeah. So and so it didn't. Nobody, not the president of the university, not the governor of the state of Iowa, not any of us thought that was probably the way to go, right? So all of that is to say, when it happened, we didn't realize we were embarking on an 8-year journey.
Yeah.
So was it a setback? Yeah. I mean, I remember joking to people like, oh, well, we're going to have to present at the Englert, and we're going to have to present in high school auditoriums and down at the casino, and but the good news is none of those places have as many seats as Hancher Auditorium, so I'm going to look really good because everything's going to sell out. But we learned very quickly that a facility means something to people. We talked to so many people who were like, yeah, I see the artists you're presenting, they sound great, but I'm just going to wait till your new building is open. And so those 8 years, we did some really exciting, innovative work that we're very proud of, that didn't reach as many people as we would have liked it to. But our donors stuck with us, the community stuck with us, the media stuck with us. And of course, as this building got closer, people got more and more excited. And I would say, that the original building opened in 1972. It was due for some upgrades.
Yeah.
This isn't what we had in mind, but it was due. So that, in a certain sense, that worked to our advantage. We got a lot more nimble than we had been in the past. We had to learn to hustle in some different ways, and to think about art in some different ways, and to think about spaces in some different ways. Yeah. We doubled down on collaborations on the campus, and part of the reason that we did that is because right after the flood, so the old building was connected to Voxman Music Building. We were basically one facility, and there were a lot of public meetings where people like our peers here at the University of Iowa would say, well, there's no rush to set up to fix Hancher, it's just an entertainment venue. And we're like, what now?
Yeah.
Right? That's not how we thought of ourselves. That's not how we thought the community thought of us. And so it did give us the opportunity to really dig deep in partnerships with professors, not just in the performing arts, but in all kinds of areas across the university, so that when we did come back into this facility, there was a body of partners out there who were like, okay, I get it. You're not an entertainment venue. You're a robust arts presenter who can help us connect our students to a variety of artists that do in fact connect to our curriculum. So, setback, absolutely. Did we try to take as many positive lessons from it as we possibly could? Yes. And I think that's to the benefit of the organization and, by extension, the campus and the community.
Despite the event taking a massive toll on not just the original Hancher Auditorium, but the entire Hancher community itself, Rob and others around him were able to persevere, move on, and help be a part of the creation of the new facility.
Regarding the building of the new Hancher Auditorium, we asked Rob if there was ever any chance of there being a name change for the new building.
Yeah, actually we did. We were concerned about it because we had a lot of brand equity, said the marketing guy. We had a lot of brand equity in the Hancher name. And there was some okay, what level of gift would it take to rename the facility? But really, there are some exceptions. The Tippie College of Business is an exception. The Carver College of Medicine is another. But most facilities on this campus either don't have a name at all, or they're named in honor of someone, like Catlett Hall.
Yeah.
We're named in honor of the longest serving president in the history of the University of Iowa, who really brought the idea of an arts campus to fruition, who passed away before the original building was even started, let alone finished. So we're very proud to carry Virgil Hancher's name. We wouldn't want to give it up.
Despite sharing that there was an openness in possibly changing the name for the new building, Rob was able to explain why it was important for the community to keep the original Hancher name while creating the new auditorium.
Following learning of Rob's role in the creation of the new Hancher, we asked Rob to elaborate on some of his favorite things that both the old auditorium and new auditorium had brought into his life.
The building was right over there, and it's obviously gone.
Yeah.
All that really remains is that tree. I don't know if you can see it where you're sitting, but that's the memorial tree to the 3 construction workers who were killed during the construction of the original building when a scaffolding broke underneath them. And we insisted that they keep that tree and its little memorial when they built this facility. So all of that is in service of saying, first, they're two separate facilities. But second, to say that a lot of my Hancher memories are in the old building. I told you I was an usher. I met my wife on the usher staff. I used to take my kids to things there, and so in a very real sense, as beautiful as this building is, it hasn't yet quite become my Hancher auditorium.
Yeah.
That said, the auditorium itself, sounds so good, and our old auditorium sounded okay, but this one sounds great. And so when the lights go down and whatever's happening on stage happens in that beautifully designed room with its great acoustics, that's probably what I like best about the building.
Rob included some more history and narrative behind the Hancher community, again displaying how Hancher is so much more than just another performing arts center. Thanks for tuning into this episode of our podcast and learning about how and why Hancher Auditorium is an important space on our campus. Thank you to Rob Klein and the Hancher community for sharing their stories and experiences with us for this episode. Send in suggestions on which space in Iowa City we should explore next, and tune in next time to see if your suggestion made it. Thanks again for listening.